Hi, this is Ashley from the Anglo-Slovak Life, and I just wanted to give you a little bit of a context into my language learning journey, um, just so you have an idea of where I'm starting from and what um, what I've done so far in terms of language learning, and just how I'm finding it so far to learn Slovak. I started language learning academically in school. So at about the age of 11 was when my primary school started teaching us French. So I learned that for a while, um, up until about age 18, I'd say. Yeah, that was a large part of my language learning kind of journey. And then in high school, Latin was compulsory. So and that came with its own challenges because it's a lot more complicated a language than English, which is my native language. And of course, as most language learners will know, um, native speakers are not as aware of the grammar of their own language as they are of the grammar of other languages, foreign languages that they learn. So um, turns out I was a lot more aware of sort of the grammatical points of, say, French and then Latin, as I, was of like English. It's much more natural for me to speak English than it was for me to translate or speak Latin because Latin grammatically was a lot more complex for me to deal with. And it turns out that Slovak shares a lot of the grammatical constructs of Latin. So having had that background in Latin, that was a really big advantage to learning Slovak. So because Slovak has cases and genders and a lot of different endings for different sorts of grammatical functions within a sentence. So yeah, it turns out my Latin learning and then later ancient Greek, as I went to GCSE, which is the General Certificate of Standard Education that every UK student takes at age kind of 16, as the sort of the end of high school, shall I say, the big sort of academic aptitude tests that are taken at the end of high school. Yeah. So I learned Greek, ancient Greek, for 2 years. So I ended up doing French, Latin, and Greek, ancient Greek, along with English, for my GCSEs. And then I took English, Latin, and French onto A level as well. I had a kind of a decent base of language learning up to about the age of 18. And in relation to my Slovak journey, that sort of started around 2014, I think, was the first time I visited Slovakia. And then I ended up picking up basic phrases and things like that. And I haven't really gone that much further since then, in terms of my language learning, in terms of my Slovak learning, because I haven't really been that serious at learning Slovak. But now that I'm living in Slovakia, and I'm much more exposed to the language now, I'm feeling a bit more confident with how I'm understanding the language, not necessarily about how much I'm speaking it. Speaking is still very much a challenge. I understand a lot more than I speak at the moment, because trying to think of the correct ways to conjugate words and put everything in the right place is kind of still challenging for me to think about on the fly. So yeah, I really don't feel confident speaking in Slovak, even though I've had like sort of 10 years on and off of learning the language. I've only been a bit more serious about it within sort of the past couple of months or so, a few months, I guess. And since we decided to start up this channel, and since my wife started talking to me more regularly, I have felt like I've grown a bit more confident with Slovak. However, I do feel like my knowledge of the language is very basic. So yeah, that's a little bit of context as to how long it's been taking me to learn Slovak. It's been about 10 years on and off. And my kind of background into language learning. So you can see kind of what experience I've had in learning other languages. Most of which, it has to be said, I've forgotten now because it's been probably 20 plus years since I spoke or learned any of those other languages that I studied in school. So Slovak is the only kind of language that I'm sort of semi-seriously studying at the moment. And hopefully I'll be able to get into sort of the resources I use to help me learn Slovak, as well as the challenges that I'm facing as a language learner who's kind of just hit 40, and things don't quite go into my brain as easy as they used to. Yeah, it's a struggle to manage the insane amount of information that has to be going into my head all the time. Like every single time I even try and think of like a basic sentence to say, my brain is literally screaming at me the entire time. Like it's hard to hear myself think over the sound of my brain screaming at me. So, so there's that. And I'm hoping that over time, my brain will actually quieten down a bit and help me think a bit more about learning the language and not, worrying about how I sound, because, I have a bit of a perfectionist kind of mindset and like to get things absolutely correct. And so I would rather not say anything if it's not going to come out perfect. But I've realized that I need to get rid of that mindset because it's not going to be very helpful for me in learning this language. I'm not a big fan of making mistakes, but I realize that I kind of have to if I want to progress. So this channel is part of me kind of just putting myself out there and saying, okay, now my mistakes are public. So what? Now, nothing. What am I going to do about it? And the answer is nothing. And I'm hoping that you guys will see my mistakes, and hopefully you will be encouraged to learn languages yourself, whether you choose to learn Slovak or another language. Hopefully my journey and my struggles and my mistakes will help you to be inspired to learn either Slovak or another language, because many of the same things that I'm going through internally, you will probably have to do as well as you learn languages yourself. So whether you choose to learn Slovak or another language, I hope that my experiences will resonate with you, and that you will not feel so alone in sort of feeling like you can't communicate, feeling like you don't know enough of the language, feeling like you can't actually have a conversation because you don't know enough, feeling like you're talking like a 3-year-old. All of these things are things that go through my head daily. So yeah, hopefully you find encouragement in my journey and what I'm saying to you, and hopefully you'll stick around for the rest of the videos where I attempt to further embarrass myself on camera. So yeah, look out for more videos in my Slovak learning journey on this channel coming soon. So hope to see you there.